Look at the camera.
Are we looking at the camera?
Alright, hello everyone. My name is Dana and this is Maria. And this week we are back with another installment in my Enneagram series. So on this series I'm going through each of the different Enneagrams and kind of talking about their relationship with the Type 1 since I'm a Type 1. So Maria, what kind of Enneagram are you?
I'm Type 5.
Okay, do you want to tell us a little bit about the characteristics of a Type 5?
I think what I remember is that Type 5 are very intellectual, and then we like things like matter of facts, and then also we have the tendency of retreating back to our minds rather than emotions. And then like sometimes a little bit detached from emotions. And then I think another thing is that Type 5, their security is mainly from their understanding of the world, their understanding like objective truths or like intellectual understandings of things. They need a lot of personal time, like alone time. So if when Type 5 tell you, oh, I need some alone time, don't take it personally. We do just need some alone time.
That's fair.
I think that's generally what I know about Type 5 or that I identify with.
Yeah. Would you say that you like identify strongly with the Type 5?
Yes.
As I was like reading through, because I would say Type 5 is the one that I know probably the least about. So then as I was like reading through them, I was like, oh, this does kind of sound like Maria then.
So I first met Dana through Cross Life, and then she was our small group leaders, and that's why initially I was looking for a discipler. I'm like, okay, I'm not really close to a lot older girls. So, but then I think when I was talking to her, she was leading our small group and leading our small group during retreat. I'm like, oh, she thinks very like me, because like Type 1, Type 5 are a little similar. She thinks very like me. It's good that for me, you don't put a lot of emphasis like on like emotions and stuff, and then like kind of like very practical, and then that's why so I asked her if she can be my discipler, and that's how we got to know each other.
Yeah. So in a Christian context, discipling is just meeting up with each other and getting to know each other and kind of living life with each other. And so Maria and I would meet up weekly or bi-weekly. It kind of changed throughout the years for quite a while, and just kind of talk about what's been going on in our lives and try to encourage and push one another just in our Christian faith. So that's kind of what discipling is. So we met up for quite a while, like 4 years maybe. Yeah, it was quite a while. I would say that we like know how we kind of like think decently well, at least.
From what I know, I don't know if this is true, but like Type 1 is a little more extrovert. They don't need as much personal time or like alone time than Type 5, and they tend to be more like practical in their thinking as well. Rather than Type 5, it's like it's fine if there's not a absolute true answer to things, like but then I think for Type 1, like, oh, what is the right thing, right? Like that's very important.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, I feel like Type 1s are a little bit more like seeking like an absolute like correct or like right versus like I feel like you're open to talking about the practical aspects of it just more on a broad sense. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so with what you know about a Type 1 and a Type 5, on a scale of like 1 to 10, how compatible would you say that these types are as friends, just generally speaking?
Overall, I would say it's just like as compatible as the other types.
I would say that Type 1 and Type 5s are like decently compatible as friends. Generally.
I feel like most of my closer friends are either Type 1s or Type 9.
What we're going to do now is we are going to read through the kind of positive and negative attributes of the Type 1 and Type 5 friendship. Enneagram 1s and 5s are alike in many ways, particularly in their reluctance to show their emotions directly and in their identification with their mind. Yeah, I would say that's very
exactly
true.
That's what we said. Like we like to like talk very like matter of fact. I don't want to say intellectually, but like more matter of fact, objective things rather than like because even a lot of time I think we're talking like, oh, just tell me like what you truly think, like objectively is this correct, Yeah, I feel like when we talk it's not super emotional like at all generally. It's like, oh, this is what happened, let's process this, you know? What can be done to improve or to solve the problem. I think that's how normally we talk.
even if it's like something that might be a little bit more emotional to us generally, I feel like we just don't like process through it by like dwelling on that emotion. I feel like that's something we do kind of like individually, and then we're able to more come together and talk about like, okay, like why am I feeling this way about it, and what is the like root of those feelings, and like how do I move forward with that.
Let's go crazy.
It's like, I feel like it's very much
It's our relationship in a nutshell.
Both bring to their friendship a desire to be objective. They both want to avoid falling into sentimentality or to allow their feelings to cloud their mental clarity.
Exactly. I think that's when I first started dating, and I was like, oh my gosh, what is happening? I can't think normally, because I think when emotions comes out more, and I feel like it kind of can't get out of control or clouds my mind, it scared me a lot. I'm like, I just feel like my decisions and my thought aren't objective, and then it kind of like freaked me out.
That's true. Right when you first started dating, you brought that up a lot.
Oh my gosh, like what is happening? I don't know, like, you know, like I was like, oh, Dana, I need an objective perspective.
I think like generally, I think ones are a little bit more emotional than fives probably, because I think one, especially when you're in like more of a negative state or dealing with things that do make you like more emotional, you veer towards a four. And so I think fours are like highly emotional. So I think ones can have that side of it. But then I think that it was interesting because it says that we kind of avoid that falling into that because we don't want those feelings to cloud our judgment. And I think that's true. I think that whenever like either of us was going through anything that like caused us to have more like feelings, we wanted to like step back and be like, okay, why am I feeling this way? Let's talk about it.
More like systematically process it.
They both are highly respectful of personal boundaries. Thus, ones and fives tend to bring a certain formality and courtesy to one another. Ones can add in concern with logic and order and systematic thinking and attention to details and a desire to improve the world around them, whereas fives can bring a curiosity and a willingness to be intellectually adventuresome.
I feel like a lot of times I just purely enjoy listening to people's perspective.
I feel like that's very five. Like learning more about others' opinions.
Exactly,
So I would say in terms of the like positive attributes, I do think that our like friendship aligns a lot with what it was saying. So let's look at some of the more negative ones. So I'll let you read through that.
As intellectual as both types tend to be, they are also opposite in important areas, and this can lead to conflicts and eventual breakdown of their friendship. Good thing we're never there. Oh my gosh. It sounds pretty intense. Most seriously, one tends to believe in the objectivity of certain truths and believe that once these are known, there is the possibility of arriving at objective certitude.
Okay, so I think this is kind of interesting because this is similar to the 8, like when I was talking with Alex a couple videos ago, where I feel like I could see this being true, like because I think ones are like very concerned with being right and like their like way of viewing the world and their values being right, and I think fives are very like interested in exploring that and probably also have like a firm hold on their like values. But then I think because we are both Christian and we both hold the same like fundamental values, I feel like this doesn't come up as a like trouble spot in our friendship as much, because I would say that we are like discussing those things, but we're not like debating, because we usually come to like a same consensus.
I think there is some like absolute truth or some like fundamental truth that we can always go back to. One feels that their ideals and philosophies have given them contact with some form of ultimate truth. Fives, on the other hand, feels that there is no such thing as objective truth, merely possible interpretations or that seem to be objective reality.
I would say you do like believe in an objective truth.
Yes.
Right?
I guess from like day-to-day matters, just curious, like do you feel like there in your mind there's like more of a correct way of like more like wise way to deal with things?
I think typically I might not like voice that because I think I like know that different people can choose to deal with things in different ways, but I think underlyingly like I think I typically have like something in mind that I think is like the best way that someone should go about something. Like I might be like asking questions and pushing the person to like think about something more, but I already have kind of an idea of what I think is like right or wrong, and I can like I think can tend to stand pretty like firmly in that. Versus I feel like you're maybe more like open to like other?
Sometimes it kind of limits because there is a fundamental truth we believe in. So sometimes there's more of objective truth versus like people who don't believe in the Bible. But I think a lot of times when it comes to wisdom call, it's hard for me to stand really firm with like, oh, this is the right thing to do, because I think for me like, oh, but then their like conviction is different, like their background is different. You know, maybe the way how they view what they are doing is different from how I view I'm doing. Yeah. So a lot of time, I think opposite is it's hard for me to stand firm. Like, oh, this is what I believe in, like it's the correct way. Because I think a lot of time it's like, oh, but I don't know. You know, I don't know how they feel about this. I don't know what this will make them do. I think that's why. I think that's probably a little different.
I think that's kind of interesting because I think even in talking, I think we can kind of challenge each other in that, because I feel like in some ways where I might like think one thing, I think you're like talking through different people's perspectives and whatnot can help me to kind of see other people's perspectives. But then I think when you're having like trouble like standing more firm in that, I can bring like more like
I was like, oh, I don't know, you know, but I like I wanted to know what to do, like intellectual. I was like, Dana, help me process this, you know, like what is the like better choice in the situation? Because sometimes seeing too much perspective can also like be hard.
Both can become too self-contained, evolving their lives in separate spheres, perhaps only getting together for occasional meals, to sleep, or to solve pressing problems.
Well, I don't think it's funny. Like it says, both can come to, or was it can come together for occasional meals, to sleep, or solve pressing problems. I think every time it's kind of like me. Like, oh my gosh, I'm like having a breakdown or like having a trouble, having problems. Dana.
I would say that that I don't necessarily agree with the like top stuff as much about the, you know, becoming distant and
because like how the conflict, but the later one is so accurate.
Because I wouldn't say that we have like much like conflict in our friendship, and again I think it does come from like having that fundamental truth. So even if we do like disagree on matters of like wisdom or like the way we should move forward with a decision, I feel like we're able to see that we're both like looking at that fundamental truth and trying to make the best call based on that. So even if the thought process is different, I feel like we get to a like similar place, and so that avoids most of that conflict.
I think in a Christian context, that I would definitely rate 1 and 5, like from a scale of 1 to 5, from
1 to 10.
1 to 10.
Yeah.
I feel like I can give it like a solid 8, honestly. Because I think a lot of their conflict is from like objective truth, and then having understanding the Bible, having the biblical truth gives so like help us to avoid a lot of those conflicts. So kind of take away a lot of negative side of the relationship. And then I think, like I said before, like the intellectual part is what both 1 and 5 really enjoys.
I think we are able to kind of push each other's thinking. So I would say overall the type 1 and the type 5 in a Christian context is a very compatible pairing, generally speaking. Well, thank you for joining me on my channel and for talking about the Enneagram with me. Other than that, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to tune in for my next installment of the Enneagram series, where I talk about the relationship between a type 1 and a type 4. And other than that, please go ahead and like this video, leave a comment down below letting me know if you have any type 5 friends and how your friendship looks like with them. And if you haven't already, make sure to go ahead and press the subscribe button. I will see you guys next week. Bye guys. So if someone just comes to you crying,
oh my gosh,
you're like, not.
I'm like, there.